took some of those courses and I thought, well, I'm not going to teach about business, but everyone is asking me about dating and singleness. And I have a lot to say because the advice out there is awful. The average woman makes the majority of those decisions between about 25 and 35. And even if you don't make those decisions during that time, there's massive pressure too.
Welcome back to Smart Girl Summer. This is our final episode of the series, and we have the perfect smart girl to talk to today. I'm with the delightful Stephanie Mae Wilson. She's an entrepreneur, she's an author, and she's a mom of twin toddlers, which is super, super impressive. Stephanie's going to share the behind the scenes that are so valuable just to hear women talking about how they got to where they are and processing the details that no one ever gets to talk about. So this is our final Smart Girl Summer of the year. If there's a smart girl that you want on the show, let me know through the year so I can book them for Smart Girl Summer 2025. Now, as I shared last week, there's no coaching or recommendations until after Labor Day when we're unveiling the new format of the show. We're all working hard behind the scenes to get it ready, to get it going. There's going to be some fun changes that I think you're really going to love. Now, here is my friend Stephanie. Stephanie, welcome to Smart Girl Summer. You are a friend of mine. You're a perfect smart girl. Let's talk about work. Let's talk about your career. First off, when people say, so what is it you do? How do you even begin to try to explain it to people?
Well, first, I have that like sinking pit in my stomach of I don't know how I'm going to answer this question. Yeah. Alli, when I tell you that this has been the struggle of my career to define what I do, that is just even an understatement. So but I have made a lot of progress lately. So let me do it.
Okay.
Through my books, my podcast, and my online courses, I help women primarily in their 20s and 30s navigate some of their life's biggest decisions and transitions. Ta-da.
There you go. Now, I hear that and I go, okay, that fits. But for everyone that's not in the online business world, do you get just blank stares?
Yeah. So yes. So I would go, depending on the person, I would say, usually I go with, I'm an author because I've written several books. And so I say I'm an author, and that like usually satisfies.
100%. Yeah.
If it looks like they are, particularly savvy with their iPhone, I say I'm a podcaster. So author and podcaster are generally the big things. One time I was still getting blank stares. So usually I don't get blank stares after author, but I tried influencer one time and my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law were sitting next to me and they were like, no, that is not what you do. And then they jumped in and it was so helpful. And so that's when I got my sister-in-law jumped in with the through my books, my podcast, she said, I own a media company, which really is a great umbrella for it. Yeah. But so as she's filling in the gap that I left by saying I'm an influencer, I was taking notes on my phone going, okay, yes, that. Okay, Lily, hired for marketing. Thank you.
I love that. When I hear influencer, I either think of someone like booty dancing in a public place or someone constantly on Reels promoting cleaning products for a 20% discount code. Influencer is just, it's not a great word.
It's not a great fit. I know. I think that is how I got a mortgage though, was I think I had to say influencer because that was, they actually had a category for that and they didn't have a category for anything else. Yep. So I think that I got a mortgage. Yep. With influencer. Yeah. I know.
Okay, that's crazy. Yeah, when we got our mortgage the first time, after my husband retired, I was nervous going, okay, I'm an entrepreneur. Is it okay? But I think because my business had been around so long, they had so many years of records. They were like, okay, we'll take it. Great. But I think influencer is pretty hilarious. Okay, let's talk about the early years of your career. What did you want? How did you fall into it? How did you kind of go on this journey to do what you're doing now? What did that look like?
This is so fun to get to talk to you about because I I've been such a fan of yours for so long, Allie, and I'm like, I don't know if we've ever talked about this.
We haven't. I do Smart Girl Summer for me because I want to know the behind the scenes stories.
I love
no one
it.
ever gets to talk about the behind the scenes.
Okay, so I started my baby tiny career in college, getting a journalism degree. And I loved it. I could not wait to do, local news. I had giant dreams of eventually, Today Show dreams. And I was just barreling towards it, doing all these internships. I loved it. And then towards the end of college, I ran smack dab with a broken heart and a hangover into Jesus. And he changed everything, as he tends to do. Yeah. And it was crazy. I hesitate to talk about this specifically with, when we're talking about career, because I think God gets a bad rap of doing this. He doesn't always do this. But for me, for a season, as I was getting to know God, I feel like he vacuumed my desire to be a journalist right out of my chest. And it was so quick and so complete. I was like, I would fall asleep at night dreaming about my journalism career. And then all of a sudden that passion was just gone. And in its place, I wanted to get to know God more. And I wanted to spend time with him and catch up on all the learning that I hadn't done in, youth group and middle school. And I wanted to spend time with the other believers that I was getting to know. And I went like head over heels. I started doing some mission work. It was really, really cool. And so I, like 3 months before graduation, just totally abandoned my journalism degree. I mean, I got the degree, but I wasn't planning on using it. I got the degree, but was like, well, I guess I'm not going to use this. And I was offered one of the coolest offers I've ever gotten. I had just gotten involved in this college ministry, and the pastor of the ministry said, hey, I think that instead of going off and graduating and, leaving and doing the next thing, I think you should hang out here in your college town for another year, be in the ministry. His wife was my mentor, and she is just the best. And he said, I want you to be an intern for me. And so I had a part-time unpaid internship the year after graduation. I lived with this family. That was my payment, as I lived with this family that had a geriatric poodle named Ginger, and the dad was really into the bagpipes. And so during the day he would practice the bagpipes. Like, you can't make this stuff up.
It's hilarious.
So I had this internship and I absolutely loved it. And my job for that year was investing in and mentoring sorority girls. I was the only one on staff who had been in a sorority, and I spoke it fluently, still do. And so that was my job. I was in charge of Greek ministry, and I had a small group of 27 sorority girls. And so it was not very small. And so, on the weekend or on Sunday nights, we would do kind of a gathering. And then during the week, I would get coffee with them. And that's really where I feel like I came alive for the first time. My mission in life still is to be who I needed when I was younger. Mm-hmm. And that is exactly where that was born. And I didn't know everything about life. I was still very much putting some pieces together. I mean, I still am, but I knew enough to be able to help them through a step and a half behind where I was. And I just loved it. So I thought that I would go into full-time vocational ministry. I was Googling seminary programs, and I really thought I want to be a pastor. And then I got probably the one opportunity that would have taken me away from that. And that was to travel around the world for a year. And basically the thing that I love more than anything is travel. And so it was this mission trip where you go to a whole bunch of different countries all around the world. And I just couldn't turn it down. So I put everything on hold. Now I had abandoned journalism and, full-time ministry, I thought. And
Ginger and the bagpipes.
Everything. And Ginger and the bagpipes. I was not that sad about saying goodbye to Ginger and the bagpipes. And so I, packed my backpack and I traveled around the world for a year. And one of the biggest gifts of that trip was that at the beginning they asked us to keep a blog. And they said, listen, like, you know, this is for fundraising. This is for ministry. This is for, you know, making sure your family knows you're not like, you know, dead somewhere.
Yeah.
And they asked us to write once a week. And I'm a total rule follower. And so I did. And it was this really beautiful combination that I never could have imagined of journalism and women's ministry. And that was like 13 years ago. And I have been doing it ever since.
I'm just amazed at how God put everything together. Journalism, ministry, like you're saying, and these opportunities. There's so much in our lives where we go, God, how does this work together? How are you going to put this with this and this I don't even care about anymore? And it's like, God's like, just wait, whether we're 25 or 55 or 75, just wait. I've got something for you. And it even gets me excited about heaven, you know, with, I feel like all of the things that we're learning now are kind of our training ground for cool things that we'll get to do in heaven that we can't even imagine. I love that. Yeah. So there you are, you have this blog, and is this kind of the light bulb for you of, oh, there's something here? What was that next phase?
So it was really amazing because people started to read the blog, and I was getting messages from people back home and people that I knew. It was like friends from high school and girls in my sorority that I wasn't friends with really, but like were reading it because I had done something so crazy that people wanted to kind of see what I was up to. And, so I started getting these messages being like, hey, this is really resonating with me. And wow, yeah, I really connect with this. And I loved it so much. And so as I was traveling, I started to kind of like brainstorm about what this could look like after. And I remember I was in Vietnam, in a hotel in Vietnam, when I first found like a blog, like someone's blog. Yeah. And it was cute and it looked like them and they had fun pictures and they could write about whatever they wanted. And my blog was like, you know, branded with the organization's colors. And so I just was like, oh my gosh, I can have a space that looks like me. And so God, I feel like was very clear with like, hold off, kiddo, like wait until you get home, just be here. So I'm like, okay. I get home and I was wildly jet lagged because I flew from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia to Denver. And so it's like the middle of the night. It's during the Olympics. I'll never forget. And I'm awake in the middle of the night. And I decided like, okay, I'm going to give this a try. And so I created my first little WordPress.com blog and, you know, figured out all how to do it. And it was ugly and weird, of course, as all first things are. But I like that really was the beginning of it. And I started, you know, I kind of moved my little community over there. And my next step really professionally was the organization that puts on the trip that I did hired me to come on staff, and I was their chief storyteller for a season. And so I was doing, you know, video stuff for them. I started a magazine for them. And so I was getting kind of this crash course in marketing and blogging and, I don't know, like online leadership in my day job. And then on the side, I also got some cool speaking opportunities, through that, which is how I met my husband. It's like a whole thing. So that was really cool. My day job was really creative and really, I just learned so much. And then on the side, I was building this blog, and I thought that it would be like decades before I ever wrote a book, before I ever, you know, tried to make this a full-time thing. And then 3 months before our wedding, my husband Carl and I both got laid off from our jobs.
Oh gosh.
And we were frustrated, disappointed, furious, heartbroken, you know, all the feelings. Yeah. And it just, you know, they just needed to make some cuts, and we were some of the cuts. And so that was that. And we did for a season. We ended up coming to Nashville, and I ended up, you know, as an assistant for a little while. And then that kind of fell through like a lot sooner than we thought it would. And so we lost a total of 4 jobs between the two of us before our first anniversary. Oh, and it was in the wake of that we both were like, you know what? We have nothing. We have this tiny apartment in Nashville. We don't even have houseplants. We don't have kids. We don't have like, we might as well, and we both have dreams of doing our own thing eventually. We might as well do this now. And so Carl started his, marketing and branding agency then. And I had, not only had I seen some women who had these really cool blogs, but I also started to see people who were teaching courses about things. And it was all business. It was like, here's how to do Instagram, or here's how to, start a business. And I took some of those courses and I thought, well, I'm not going to teach about business, but everyone is asking me about dating and singleness. And I have a lot to say because the advice out there is awful. And so that's when I started, looking at these other businesses, and I was looking at, authors, but I was also looking at these, online entrepreneurs that were teaching different things. And I thought, like, how can I sort of marry those, and how can I use those tools that I'm seeing emerge to build, to like teach the things that I want to teach. And it really was kind of, how can I get as close as possible to that 27 sorority girls in a room with people who don't live in my town. And so I started, one of the first things I started was an online course called Love Your Single Life. And we have had more than 7,000 women go through the course.
That's amazing. Well
I know.
done.
And it was so cool because, God has done things through it that I just are so far beyond me. I had a book signing for my new book last week, and many of the girls that I got to meet were like, hey, I took Love Your Single Life. This is my husband. I wouldn't have met him without this course. And I'm sitting there just like mouth agape. I don't know how to respond I just am amazed, and it's been so cool. And so it's really been, one thing at a time. I see a problem and I, want to create something to solve it, or, it's the blog has really changed into all kinds of forms. Really, my main thing is podcasting at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But it really is, the heart is totally the same. It's just being who I needed when I was younger, and getting as close as possible to all of us, on couches and sweatpants, eating pizza, figuring out life together.
I'll tell you, speaking of sweats, I have one of your sweatshirts. I have my favorite night is girls' night. I have worn it maybe 3 times a week, even in summer, for the past 3 years. It is fantastic. So I just want you to know I'm out there repping the brand all the time.
I love that so much. I am so honored. Also, same. Like, I feel like it's like almost a bad gift to give to someone, because everyone I know gets made fun of by their partners, their kids, their friends so much, because they're like, oh, that again. You're going to wear that again.
Yeah,
because
because it's the best. Okay,
the best.
Say you could go back 5 years, 10 years. What would surprise you most now that it's working in your business, and what would surprise you that's a challenge that you couldn't have imagined would have been a challenge?
There's so many things. There are things that are working. There are things that totally aren't. And but the first thing that came to mind is sort of this like two sides of the coin kind of thing. One of the things that I think would be surprising is that at least from the outside, from what you can see of my community on like Instagram or something, like my Instagram hasn't grown in years, just years. And like, have I been putting my best effort in? No. Have I been a little busy? Yes. I have 2 3-year-olds. Like it has not been my best work, but I have been showing up and like giving, a medium amount of effort for years. And it really, like, it hasn't grown. And even up until really a couple weeks ago, every time I would post, I would like lose followers. So it has gotten worse. So I think that if I could see that 5 years ago, I'd be pretty bummed by that. Mm-hmm. The thing that is really working though is, I had, and I know we'll talk about it, but I had a book come out like 2 weeks ago, and, there it is. There she is. Oh, she's so pretty. So I had a book come out about 2 weeks ago, and I was just talking with, my team, my PR people, my publisher, and everybody, and everyone was saying that they have been so amazed by the response from my community and like how much like traction and movement we've gotten kind of disproportionately with my at least public audience size. So it's like, while we may be kind of small and like sort of shrinking a little bit, just, you know, as people go, who is this girl? Why am I following her? It like, we're mighty. And so we've had, you know, just an amazing amount of, you know, Amazon reviews. We've been hanging with some really big people on the Amazon charts, which is just amazing. And, you know, we had some really awesome turnouts for my book signings, and my launch team was incredible. And it just, they were like, Steph, like, you don't have the biggest, like Instagram following, but your people show up in a way, but like your engagement, your connection, your people, it's so quality in a way that even people with a greater quantity like don't have. And so that was like just really encouraging and really, really cool that like you just can't tell what is going to happen from the outside, you know?
I think anybody on Instagram who's trying to grow an audience for any reason, whether it's to maybe do something in the future with, or you have a business or a book, or you want to, and you have an Instagram audience now, everybody hears you and goes, I know, growth is so hard right now. Every time I open the app, I want to throw it across the room. I think it's super encouraging because we don't have to have the biggest audience to serve people well and to have a really successful and profitable business. I mean, if our business model was being influencers and selling 20% discount codes off of soap all the time or makeup, then yes, you need hundreds of thousands of people because you have to have those purchases coming in. But if you want a business where you create courses or you coach or you're doing great service work, you're a service provider, you don't need to have a massive audience. You just need to serve people well, right? That's the thing. Yeah.
Yes. And it's so cool because like, you know, I started, I know that people say you need to grow an audience and then you can like sell things to them. For me, I wrote a book that, you know, was sort of long for an ebook, short for a, you know, traditional book. It was my first book, The Lipstick Gospel, that's done so well. And so I kind of gave it away. And also, you know, if people wanted a print copy, they could buy one. And so I had a product, I had a shop like really, really early before I had very many followers or people on my email list. But I think I had maybe 3,000 Instagram followers, maybe the same on my email list the first year that I hit 5 figures in my business. Wow. It might have been 6.
That's amazing.
And so, but the thing that I've realized is like, I guess you can build a giant audience and then try to sell them something. But one of the things that was so helpful in my book launch and getting my book contract in the first place, in selling all of my courses, just everything that I've ever made, is that people are used to buying resources from me. And then also that those 3,000 women like really needed this course. And so like, you don't need 100,000 people in order to have something to offer them. If you have 10 people, you have something to offer them. So make something. And then once you have 100, you'll have that many more people to give that thing to. But I think that so often we like create this giant audience. And like we just talked about with my audience being kind of smaller but mighty, is a lot of times, you know, people can have like actually 1 million followers and not sell any more than I do because their people aren't used to buying anything from them. So size is not like quality, or quantity and quality are not always the same.
That's good. That's good. Let's talk about challenges and how you keep yourself motivated. I think for a lot of people, one of the biggest challenges is comparison and not looking at what she's doing or what he's doing or where we quote unquote should be. How do you manage that and how do you keep yourself motivated?
So one is I'm pretty careful about But it's changed a little bit. For a long time, I was really careful about who I followed on Instagram. I would, follow people that were, my friends. Well, I'm not trying to offend someone by unfollowing them, but I would, mute them or something, because there were people where every time I saw what they were doing, it just like crushed my spirit. And so don't follow them. I am less careful about who I follow, and I'm more careful about how much time I spend on the apps. So I have this app called Freedom that actually completely locks me out of my phone for like 12 hours a day, and I can't get around it. Every once in a while I'll have to be like, Carl, can you look this up, because like my Safari is blocked. But it's great. It keeps me from doom scrolling or comparison scrolling. So that's one thing, is just really blocking it out. The other thing is that I've been doing this long enough that I've learned two things that really help. One is, like we just talked about, someone can look like they are just killing it from the outside and they are making no money on the inside. Or they are making money, but like their relationships are falling apart or something. Like just absolutely nobody has it all together. And if you can't see the ways that they're failing, like guess, because it's one of many. We all are. And so just nobody is perfect. Nobody has it all together. That's been really helpful to realize. The other thing is, there were times where I would look at people who are doing similar work and be like, wow, they are just crushing it. They are everywhere. They're on all the podcasts. They're, launching a book. They're whatever. And feel like that's their life all the time. And finally, I started paying enough attention and also going through it myself, where I'm like, no, if someone is everywhere for a while, it's because they are launching a book. Things come in seasons and come in waves. And there's a time for like making the thing. And that's usually a pretty quiet season where like all of a sudden you're not going to see me or Alli as much, because we're really working on something and we don't have enough bandwidth to be everywhere all at the same time. But then there's a time where like your latest book is coming out or my book's coming out, and you'll see us a lot. And it's not because we're everywhere all the time. It's just because there are seasons of creating and seasons of promoting. And the seasons of promoting are really loud in public, but they're just not constant for anybody.
So much wisdom in that. Speaking of wisdom, I'm going to put you on the spot. If somebody has a dream in their heart to do something similar to what you're doing, what advice would you give her?
Do it and start soon. And if there's a way that you can go around Instagram, do it. So one, do it. And this is really one of the things I've said to myself for years. Anytime I get plagued by comparison, are all the problems in the world solved? Like ask yourself that question. The thing that you feel like you're meant to offer, like, are all women who are trying to get pregnant and having a really hard time, are they fully supported? Like just as supported as they like could be? Are every person's relationships healthy? Does everybody know how to decorate their house? Does everybody know how to manage their money? Like the answer to all these things is no. There is still massive need in the world. And until there's not, you have work to do. It takes a while to get good at something, but most people spend so much time even waiting to get started that they never actually start the process. When I was starting my podcast, I was really intimidated by the tech of it all. And even though I have my journalism degree, and so on a sticky note, I wrote, it's okay to be a beginner. And I reminded myself that everybody, all the people who you see who've been podcasting or doing whatever forever, they all were terrible at it at one point. And you just have to like get through that terrible part to get good at it. And so, I had this sticky note. It said, it's okay to be a beginner. And I just was like, I'm going to start getting my reps in, and I'm just going to get them out of the way so that I get better at this. And I did. So I'd say like, get started fast, because it's going to take, you're going to suck at it for a while. Get that over with and get it over with sooner so that you can like really grow something. It takes time to build anything good. And one of the things that I've been thinking about lately, especially when I'm like discouraged about something, is, this isn't growing as fast as I want it to. Or I think most of the time, the people who succeed the most are the most stubborn, like just the ones that refuse to give up. And I want to be that person. Like, I just want to be the person still standing at the end of the day, battered and bruised and having been rejected 1,000 times, but the one who's like still trying. Because I think most of our, like, this isn't a competition because there's so much need in the world. But if it was, like, I think that we can outlast our competition. We can be the one who's just still trying because we want this so bad. And other people have quit and gone home because it was hard. I just don't want to be the one who quits and goes home.
Amen to that. I will amen all those points. All day long. Okay, let's do some fun questions. Lightning round.
Okay.
Let me think. Is there something interesting or different that you always take with you when you travel?
My toddlers and my husband and I are about to move to Spain. So we're like, what goes with us? And one of the things that I think I'm going to take with me is this thing I got on Amazon when I was pregnant, called a headache hat.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like the best thing I've ever had. It was like $20, and it's an ice pack that has Velcro, so it wraps around your head, and I wear it all the time. And I was just in Denver and I didn't have it, and I was like, yeah, I think my headache hat is coming to Spain with me. It is just a practical thing. It is just, doesn't take up any room.
Let's take a Spain side note. How long are you going to be there, and why Spain?
Spain, because so that is a really big part of my story with Jesus. Mm-hmm. I was studying abroad in Spain when technically I was in Italy, but I was in Italy for spring break. I was studying abroad in Spain when God really got my attention, and I've been learning Spanish since I was 10. My school just made it a priority, and I loved it. And I studied Spanish all the way through college. And so I've always loved Spanish. And I feel like because of learning Spanish, Spain and really any Spanish speaking country has been just sort of it feels like it's part of my blood, even though I have absolutely no Spanish blood. And so that's why Spain, it's just my favorite place in the world. We are starting with a year. We're saying a year. I think it's probably going to be at least 2. We've rented out our house. We are selling or donating most of our stuff. And I mean, we're going to work from there. Our girls will be in preschool there. And I'm really ready for a change of pace, a change of lifestyle a little bit. We could talk about this for a million years, but the childcare crisis is a very serious thing. And we are we have 2 3-year-olds. We are like in the thick of it. Wow. And so part of it is like lowering our cost of living, or like reallocating our cost of living a little bit, which we just really like want to do for a while. And so that's why Spain. So starting with a year, who knows though?
That's so exciting. It'll be fun for all of us to get to watch the adventures in Spain. Okay, 2 more fun questions. Favorite cosmetic or skincare?
I am historically a lazy person when it comes to my skincare. I love Ursa Major and Osha. They're both like kind of non-toxic, healthier options. Ursa Major has this lotion called Golden Hour that smells amazing. Okay. I have no idea the science behind it. And it's just lotion to me, but it smells so good. And so I love that. And then Osha has this ocean cleanser that I just use in the shower. So again, very lazy, but I did get enough ads for Frownies. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
It's because their Instagram ad game has been like strong, but I finally bought them because I was at lunch with a friend who was like, I've been using them for the last 2 years and I swear by them. And then I started getting the ads because obviously Instagram was like, listen,
it heard you. Yeah.
It heard me. Yeah. So I got enough ads that I finally bought them. And Alli, I'm telling you, I love them.
Okay, so Frownies are the ones that get hard and you have to peel them off, right? I recently bought the silicone ones because I don't want something getting hard on my forehead. I have not tried them yet. It's on my list. Tell me your experience with Frownies.
I will. So they're really easy to put on. They're like they look like little craft paper squares. Okay. And you just get them wet, Like just put a little bit of like water on the back of or on your finger and just like get them a little bit wet, and then give them a second. And then you just stick them on your forehead and you kind of overlap them a little bit. And that's how they stay in place and don't like squiggle around. But I use like 3, and then I do 1 that just goes like down where like 11s go.
Yeah.
And it does get hard, but it really just feels like a piece of paper that dried on your head, which it like, and I actually really like the hardness because it's really soothing it feels like you have kind of just a little tiny bit of pressure on your head. And I feel like it's actually kind of good for like tension headaches.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me. It doesn't like, it takes 2 seconds to put on. I've been wearing them every night for maybe a month and a half. And at least when I take them off in the morning, they like, I have not a wrinkle in sight.
Baby smooth.
Baby smooth throughout the day as I like move my head and stuff, then they come back. And so by the end of the day, it looks kind of like it did. But at least from what I've heard, the longer you do it, the further you get into the day, like basically the longer it lasts.
All right.
So
I'm interested. I'm interested.
I am on the train. I'm on the train.
This is why I asked this question, because you can't trust an Instagram ad, but you can trust your girlfriend. Okay. Last question. Favorite guilty pleasure?
I eat a lot of pastries and like cookies, like almost like every night at this point. I'm like eating a chocolate chip cookie. That's just,
well, you did just get through book launch, so that makes sense.
Yeah. There may be a day where I don't do that. I don't like cooking, but I love food. And like, I could be a restaurant critic or something. Like I love foodie culture as long as someone else is making the food. But I really like, especially with us going to Spain and about to travel so much, I'm like, I would way rather be the size that I am and eating as many cookies as I want. And like I would rather be a little bit bigger and enjoy food than be smaller and not. Like I just love food too much, and so I've just decided that is a price I am more than happy to pay. So
I love it. And that just means you're comfortable in your body, and that's a really wonderful thing. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, here's what I want from you next. I want you to tell us about your blog and where to find it, and then give us a quick pitch on why we need to read Create a Life You Love and who is it perfect for.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Okay, so everything, all of my stuff, my books, my podcast, my sweatshirts, my comfy sweatshirts, my Instagram, it's all linked on my website. It's stephaniemaywilson.com. And that's, my blog will be there too, where I've started little by little to kind of document this journey. So that's the hub. And if you're a podcast listener, which I know you are because you listen to Alli, my podcast is a really, really special place. It's called Girls Night, and Alli's been on twice, I think, at least, like you'll be back. So Girls Night with Stephanie May Wilson, available everywhere. And then my book is so fun. So it's called Create a Life You Love, and it's how to quiet outside voices so you can finally hear your own. And through the work that I've been doing in the last, 10 plus years, I've been going through a bunch of transitions and making a bunch of decisions in my own life and then walking with women through them. And I knew that this was a hard time. I knew that a lot was happening, but I didn't really know that it was a thing until about 2 years ago when I heard this statistic: 80% of our most defining life moments happen before we turn 35. Wow. And I thought, that is horrifying and also very comforting. Is that true? And so I started to kind of look into it. And when we're talking about, these really big life decisions about career and where home is and who our people are and, if we want to get married and who that person is and having kids, like really the average woman makes the majority of those decisions between about 25 and 35. And even if you don't make those decisions during that time, there's massive pressure too. So I call it the everything era. And it's this weird and wonderful and wildly difficult span of years during which we make some of the most biographically significant decisions of our lives, all at the same time and in front of a massively opinionated audience. Life is a lot, especially when you're living a life that you didn't choose any of. And so that's what this book is about. It's about reclaiming our authority and tapping into creativity and building a life that looks and feels like us and that is a reflection of the things that are most important to us. It's a survival guide for the everything era and really, honestly, years beyond it.
Well, thank you for sharing. I love the book. I know so many women are going to be helped by the book. And thank you for coming on the show and sharing all your wisdom.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, friend. It'll be great to have you back on again. How great is she? Right? I told you, this is a great one. I'm giving away a copy of her book. Just tag me and Stephanie May Wilson. When you are listening to this on Facebook, you can share it. If you're listening, you can share it on Instagram stories. If you are watching on YouTube, thank you for watching on YouTube. Be sure that you're subscribed. Be sure to like it and leave a comment. And of course, I am so glad you're here. I love that we get this time together every week. You are investing in yourself. You're doing the work to create a life you love, just like Stephanie's book. I believe in what's inside of you. I believe in your dreams. I believe you're making an impact on this world for good. That's why you're here every week. You're learning something that's going to help you get healthier, to live the life that God has for you, and improve life just a little bit every day. I know that God has created you to stand strong and bring something special and unique to this world that only you can bring. And I love that I get to coach you and equip you every single week. So keep stepping up, keep showing up, because you know the truth. You cannot break a woman who gets her strength from God. I hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you again soon. Okay, we're recording. All is well.
I love this so much. This is exactly it.
Show, we're working hard. My light went out. Super cut. How do I press stop?